Alrighty, welcome to episode 2 of Divinity Original Sin, part 1, the Enhanced Edition. Last episode we went over character creation, took quite a while, but a lot of concepts we covered over general gameplay and how mechanics work in this game. In this episode we will go over the UI, and let's just jump right into it. If you look at the bottom left screen, you'll see an icon. You click on that, that is the local chat. This is used for a multiplayer chat. Since we are playing a single target campaign, we do not need that, so we're going to just hit X and X that out and leave it there. On the bottom right, you'll see another window. It's the log for combat, dialogue, banter, dice rolls, and item interactions. You see a check boxes here. You can go ahead and filter out specific things that you want to see in the game. This chat log is a little bit, well, it has like an attitude, honestly. It doesn't like to play nice with you. I don't know why, but anyway, you can see that it has a transparent background. If you don't like the transparent background, you can hit this button here, and that's the lock log background, and you can keep it where it's more of like a black background. I like the transparent background, so I'm going to keep that. If you don't want this window to move around, or you don't want to accidentally do anything on this window, you can lock it down by hitting that lock button. This makes it where you can't do anything with this window. You can also move this window and resize this window, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to take that lock off, and I'm just going to try. I'm just going to drag it and put it right over here where this other log would be. The triangle to the left here, unless you resize it, it can be a bit finicky, but we'll go ahead and stick it right here in this spot. And if you want to exit out of this log, you can hit X, but it puts it way over here on the right. You'll see the plus sign or a cross sign there. And if you hit that again, it pops back up to where you have it. Alright, so right now I'm going to lock that down for now. Alright, at the bottom of the screen, we have our hotbar. You'll see above the hotbar your hit points. So I have 52 of 52. Above that, the fence symbol, that will be populated with your action points. When we get to combat, on the right you'll see an hourglass. That is the end turn for combat. It's associated with space bar and for the keyboard keys. You'll see the portrait of the player that you currently have selected. Below that, this is the sneak toggle. It's associated with the keyboard key C. You can just click on it, go into sneak mode, or you can just hit C. Next to that is the sheath of your weapon. So that's associated with tab, sheath, or you can just hit tab. And the hotbar, you can use the arrows to go forward or backwards. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You have 5 hotbars. Or you can hit F and R. You go forward and reverse. So that is the hotbar. We'll go over the skills and what you can do on the hotbar in a bit. At the top right, you'll see the minimap. You can use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out of the minimap. You can also use the plus and minus keys to go in and out of the minimap. So you can hit this button to bring up the map, or you can hit M. So hit that button, or M. So looking at the minimap, when you're here, you can scroll in and out to zoom, or you can use the plus and minus key. At the bottom, you'll see the legend. So we have quest marker, location, custom marker, waypoint, shrine, and secrets. We scroll all the way out. You can see right now we currently have a quest marker at Seal Harbor Gate. You can make custom markers. If you left click on the area, you can bring up the marker description. So if we just hit start and hit accept, you can see that we have a marker. You can also see on the mini map itself there is a marker. and it tells you what it is when you hover over it. At least when you zoom in. Alright, and zoom out. Okay, so you're good. So if you want to remove that marker, go back into the map, hit M, and hit right click, and you can delete that marker. Above on the map, you can switch to dialogues, you can switch to secrets, and you can switch to your log. And we will go ahead and look at the log in a bit. So this one here is your tutorial log, so any tutorial message that may have popped up that you missed, you can check that out. Some tutorial messages come and go very quickly, like you cannot read the tutorial log fast enough. Just some asshole programmer that thought speed reading was something everybody could do. I'm not one of those people. It takes me a little bit to read, so you can collapse this log or expand it. So you collapse it with that button and expand it with the right button there. Above that is the log, so that's associated with L on the keyboard. You can hit that button, or you can hit L. So let's take a look at what we have. First quest is the Source Hunter Journal. Source Hunter's Journey, sorry. Alright, so we're ready for our first assignment. It seems the murder of Counselor Jake is a clear-cut case of sorcery, and we're ready to nab the perpetrator. We landed on the beach east of our destination, so we should head westward towards the city of Sicil. Okay, so you can click on that to collapse it, or you can click on it to bring it up. As you can see, it has a diamond there that is not blinking, so that means you've read it. So on a mysterious murder, our orders are clear. We've been sent to the city of Sicil to investigate the murder of Counselor Jake. The wizard Arhu will meet us in the city to elaborate on this matter. So I can go ahead and collapse that. And as you can see, whichever one you're currently on, it'll be red instead of black. And then we can just collapse or expand. And that's that. The red diamond is the connection menu for multiplayer chat. Actually, I don't think it's multiplayer chat, right? It's just the connection menu to connect for multiplayer co-ops. Anyway, we're not playing multiplayer, so we're not going to worry about that. And we have the basic game menu. We'll go into that in a second. Here is the toggle tactical camera, and that's associated with B, or this button here, so you can click on it or hit B. So in this game, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to target things, and it's easier to target them if you go up to the tactical camera. That said, let's say I'm over here, and let's say there is a monster that I'm attacking to the right of the screen, and I'm in this mode instead of tactical mode, and I accidentally click on the ground past my target, so I actually don't hit the attack button on the target. I click on the ground after it. What's going to happen is you're going to start moving towards that area. So you meant to attack, but you accidentally clicked the ground and you start moving. And for every step you take, there's you're wasting, not every step, but for lots of steps you take, you're going to waste action points. So if I accidentally click over on the ground here and make that movement, I'm going to waste a lot of action points getting there on a misclick. So that said, if you do that, if you accidentally misclick, you can instantly hit the right hand mouse button, and that stops you immediately. You'll still lose the action point it took from the time you started moving to that point. So if I wait longer, I'll waste that many action points. So I'll waste probably 2 action points. But you don't waste all of it. So if you actually do make an error and misclick on it, you can right click and stop your progress. Alright, so let's go into the game menu. You can hit that, or you can hit escape, and sometimes that can be a bit finicky too. I've had it where you hit escape and it just doesn't work. I don't know why. Anyway, let's go to the connection menu. Not the connection menu, sorry. Let's go into the options. You can go into the control. And let's see what this has it set up at. Alright, so it has... anything in here? Alright, so the one I'm concerned with right now is the show world tooltips. So this command shows you anything that's on the ground. Anything that you could pick up off the ground. It doesn't show you containers on the ground, but it does show you things that are just laying on the ground. And when you kill creatures or you know, monsters in this game, the loot is on the ground. I don't like this associated with left alt though. That's a key that's not really in a good spot for me. So I want to switch this to left shift, but left shift is also associated with another button. But we're going to change that. So I'm going to change this to left shift. I'll accept that, and then I'm going to change whatever was associated with left shift. Q command was associated with left shift, but they have two different things associated with left shift already. It looks like, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to change the split item stack to left alt, and that's just more convenient for me. So we'll get back out of that, get back into the game. Alright, so that is the mini-map. If you look at the bottom there on the mini-map, you'll have an XY coordinate. So if I move direction keys, it unlocks the it unlocks the focus. The camera stops following your party member. You can look around freely using the arrow keys. To recenter on your party, press home, and that's what I was saying about the tutorial message. So if you want to see what that tutorial message says, go to the log. To recenter your party, press home, the home key, or double click on a party member's portrait. Holding left mouse button does the same, so there's multiple ways of recentering. But if you look at the coordinates of the map, okay, that changes with where you move the actual camera, not your character. So that's what that means. So you can use those coordinates if you want to post stuff online or look up things. I'm not sure how many people actually use coordinates when they describe things, probably very few. But, you know, it's one way of making it easy for people to find stuff you're looking at on the screen, if you want to say that. Alright, so if I'm on Scarlet right now, as you can see with the portrait. If I want to go to Roderick, so if I hover over Roderick here, and you can see it shows you his hit points, it shows you a level, and it shows you the attitude. So the attitude you see there is your character's attitude toward whatever NPC or creature you're looking at, I think. Actually, you know what? I really don't know what the attitude is on this bar. Yeah. Because you can have different attitude for different NPCs and different monsters, and why you would have zero attitude towards yourself, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Unless it's, since I'm on Scarlet and I'm hovering over Roderick, it's the attitude she has towards Roderick. So Roderick's attitude towards Scarlet, maybe. So he has zero attitude towards Scarlet? I don't know. Anyway, if we double click on him, we center on him, and if you hover over Scarlet, now you can see that you have her hit point bar at the top of the screen, her level and her attitude. So it seems like it's the attitude versus each other. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why they have an attitude for each other, but anyway. That said, and then if you want to switch up to Scarlet, you can do that, like so. Okay. Also, if you notice, they move linked. You can unlink these if you just drag the portrait, and now they can move in separate ways, like this, and you will be taking advantage of that Some quests require you to be unlinked, and other quests just tactically something you're going to want to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the inventory, and then we'll do the skills. So go into the inventory. You can hit I or just click the button. Inventory screen. This is your inventory. Everything you pick up is stored in here. Press right mouse button on objects in your inventory to find out what you can do with them. Okay, so that, or we can hit I, and that is your inventory. So if you right click on stuff, so one note here. If I hover over this, gold. Wars are won and lost by it. Bonds are formed and broken for it. Fancy gear is purchased by it. That last one sounds pretty tempting, doesn't it? So almost every single item in this game will have a little blurb on it describing what it is, or just some kind of tidbit about it. And I find that kind of refreshing. A lot of times you're playing games and you pick up just a sword and that's it. It just says sword. Or you pick up a piece of armor and just says helmet. You know, there's nothing special about it. You can see that they put no thought into it other than here's the item that you can use. This game really has a lot of descriptions on their items, and it's kind of refreshing. So we'll be reading those as we move along, or at least trying to read all of them if we can. All right, so if we right click on our stack, actually, yeah, if you left click, you can drag it in your inventory, like so. And you can see there's a scroll bar in your inventory here. So if I were to do something like this, boom, scroll bar opens up and you can scroll down to the next slot. So if I move this here and then scroll and then move this here, I don't think there is a limit here. I think it will continuously scroll for as many, as much as you want. I don't know if there is a limit. I never tried it, but that's how you do that. If you see on the top right of this little screen here, not the screen, but this window part, you see sort by here and a drop down menu. So now that I've moved things around, I can sort them by type, last added, gold value, durability, weight, and remove empty. And I'm not really sure what remove empty is on this. I'll have to look at that once we start playing. I don't know what that does. But if we sort it by type, sorted by last added, gold value, durability, and weight. I generally do it by weight. Also, if you see in that screen, you have on the left side of the screen, you can filter. So this is all. You can look at just the equipment, just the consumables, magical items, ingredients, and keys. And then there's your miscellaneous items. So we'll go back to all. Alright, so now if you right click on it, you'll have the actions you can do with the item, and some items allow you to do certain things, so they'll have different actions. So we can send this to Scarlet, or we can just split it, or we can drop it. So if we right click and drop, it lands up on the ground, like so. Now if we use that key that we assigned to show the tooltips, we can use the left shift button and you will see the gold on the ground. So Roderick will pick our gold back up. Press I to access your inventory. We will access the inventory. There's our shiny new gold. So if we sort by last added, gold will be there now. So go back to weight. We can also right click and split it. So we can split it into whatever number you want. So let's split that into 100, like so. Yeah, so, and if you want to combine it, just drag it and combine. You're good. Or you can just send it straight to Scarlet. And then we can go to Scarlet and take a look. And now we have a total of 400 gold on Scarlet. So that is that. As far as what we're going to be doing, she's going to be the character that gets the talent called Stench. So she's not going to be the one we're going to purchase with. She's not going to be the one that we're interacting with NPCs. So I'm going to go ahead and send all our gold to Roderick. He will be the person in charge of doing things like that. Alright, so if you look here, let's take a look at these first. Orders. Embossed with the insignia of the Order of the Source Hunters, these instructions have been sanctioned by one of the highest authorities in the land. If you right-click on it, you now have an option called Read, so let's read that. Source Hunters. Your orders are to investigate the recent murder of Counselor Jake and inspect the city of Sicil for evidence of source magic. Your liaison in Sicil will be a wizard called Arhu, who is anxiously awaiting your arrival. Due to the nature of your mission, we've put at your disposal some of the most powerful spells and magics known to the Order, but treat them with caution and tread with care. Scrolls such as these are very rare. We'd advise you not to blow through your entire arsenal at once. Good luck. Godspeed. Signed, Captain Orutros. Alright, so bottom right of the book icon, you'll see the page number, and you can see when you hover over it, it starts wanting to turn with that little gold triangle at the bottom there. You click on that, and if you go back with the same issue there, the same triangle. Anyway, hit X to get out of the book. Alright, so let's take a look at this one. The Order of the Source Hunters, a brief history. Crack it open, inhale the musk of its pages, and learn something new. So that little blurb there is on many of the books that come by. So if we right click on that one and read that. The Order of the Source Hunters, a brief history. When Source was tainted so many centuries ago, sorcerers, who had once brought great good, began to wield a force of evil. When one of their kind, Arrakis Rex, came to power, he instigated a war that would have undone Rivellon if not for the Council of Seven. These wise rulers ordered a new order of elite warriors, especially trained to fight the Source Menace. Arrakis was defeated, and the Order of the Source Hunters began its legacy. Our objective is to eradicate the Source Menace from Rivellon, one sorcerer at a time. Recognizing Source. Unlike other forms of magic, Source is particularly difficult to identify. Mages of many years' experience may learn to sense the presence of Source, as others smell the sweet sixth scent of poison or hear the barely perceptible scrape of a sword loosened from its hilt. Source may be channeled through certain objects, weapons, gems, or metals. These are unpredictable as Source itself and may inflict terrible harm or magnificent feats of healing upon either wielder or target. Methodology of the Source Hunter. Ours is an order of cunning and cleverness as much as strength and power. The well-trained Source Hunter will examine and question, lift every barrel, and analyze each testimony for the faintest breath of a clue. Nothing is insurmountable. If some knot puzzles you, mark its location upon your map and return it when you've learned a better method of untangling it. There are no limits to Source Hunter's resolve. There are no limits to a Source Hunter's resolve. No riddle is unknowable, no foe unbeatable, no mystery unsolvable. Okay. So, what's a little bit interesting in this is that it says, unlike other forms of magic. So just because you are using magic doesn't mean you are using Source. They specifically have Source listed as a particular type of magic. Alright, so that is that one. So it mentioned the scrolls and magics that we were given that were powerful. So that would be a Resurrect scroll. Resurrect a dead ally to 20% of its vitality at a location within 10 meters. So it's a 15-meter range that you have on this scroll. A scroll is a one-time use spell used to start casting. Alright, so as far as the scrolls go, and we'll just deal with the Resurrect scroll here. If let's say, we're in combat and Scarlet's here and Roderick's here, and Scarlet dies, or Roderick can click on the scroll here, click on Scarlet, and res her, and then once you click on her, you'll also have another box that pops up to place her at a specific spot in that radius. So, you know, if you come back with only 20% of your health, it's likely you're going to die on the next combat hit no matter what. So be careful on when you use these. A lot of things use ranged, and just because you res them far away doesn't mean they're not going to be targeted. So going back into the inventory, it shows you it's a 6 AP use. So a little bit about resurrection also. If we go into the talents, talents determine a character's unique features. Select talents to complement a character's ability and attributes. Okay, so there was a talent that we had called Morning Person. Here. When resurrected, you revive with full health. So that's very useful if you are resing people to do it with full health. So it's not a bad talent to have, assuming you can spare it in whatever build you decide to go with. Scrolls come in all different forms, so you can get scrolls in everything. If we take a look at our abilities, abilities shape what a character can do and how well it performs. In order to level up an ability, spend the number of ability points equal to the ability's next level. Abilities are capped at 5. So we went over this at character creation. They are hard capped at 5 as far as what you can spend personally on it, but the cap really is not 5. You can go above 5 with items, traits, and items and traits, and maybe some books too. But so the cap really is not 5. So looking here, if we look at our skills, you can find scrolls that are in all of these. And the scroll doesn't require you to have any skill points spent to use them. So if you find a pyrokinetic scroll, but you don't have any points spent in pyrokinetic, that doesn't mean that you can't use it. You can use the scroll. So that's what's really cool about the scroll system, is that you do not have to have the skill to use it. You can still use it. Wands are not the same, and we'll go over that when we see one. Alright, so that's your scroll. Roderick came with a smoke grenade because well, I don't know if he came with a smoke grenade because we chose rogue, or if it's because our talents we spent. We have pinpoint and slingshot. Maybe it understood we were going to be a grenader, and it gave us that. I'm not really sure. It probably is more likely because I chose rogue as the base is why we got the smoke grenade. But anyway, smoke grenade creates a smoke curtain with a 4-meter radius. It shows you the AP cost 3. It shows the range at which you can throw it and the explosive range once it is thrown. Smoke grenades and grenades in general in this game are very, very powerful. And we'll go over those in more detail as we progress through the game. Next up, if you hit right click, you'll have the option to throw the grenade. So you can throw it from the inventory if you so choose to do that. Next item up is the minor healing potion. So it heals 20% of your health at an action cost of 2. An elixir that restores your vitality. It makes a soft tinkling sound when you shake it. If you right click on it, you can consume it. And here you can see combine with. So notice here you have no combine, but with that you have a combine. So this game has a robust crafting system, and when you see a combine with, that generally means that there is a recipe out there that you can either find by experimenting or find by reading books that this can be used with. So as far as minor healing potions go, as you progress in your ability with crafting, you'll be able to produce better healing potions. So you're able to combine a minor healing potion with another minor healing potion. You'll get a medium healing potion, and then as you progress, if you combine the medium healing potion with another medium healing potion, get a large healing potion, and several things work like that in the game. So I wouldn't use your minor healing potions unless you have to, because later on you'll be able to combine those into better potions. At the beginning of the game, once you start crafting, you'll be able to craft food, and a lot of food heals for anywhere between like 5 and 15% of your health. So it's not quite as good, and it costs a little bit more for action points to use that, but I would suggest holding on to your healing potions as much as you can. I mean, you're going to come in battles where you're going to have to use them, but if you can avoid it, try to avoid it. So let's go ahead and take a look at, if we go with Combine With, we have the crafting panel. Click or drag items into the combination slots and press Combine. Successful combinations are stored in your recipes. Alright, so if you look at this at the top, or at the top, you'll see Experiment and Recipes. So we start out with a recipe for dough. It tells you that we need 1 flour. Well, it doesn't say how many, but it says flour and a cup of water, and that will give us dough if we do that. So if we click on Experiment, we go back to the window that it pulls us up in. So let's say I want to experiment. I want to combine some minor healing potion with some gold, right? And just click on that, and it tells you, okay, it's an invalid combination. Okay, so this game, like I said, before the recipes got put all over the internet, and again, I'm not convinced that all of them are out there, unless someone just went and data scraped the entire game and said, okay, these are definitely all the recipes out there. You can sit here and just go off on combinations and try to figure out, you know, hey, does this actually do something? A lot of combinations make sense just logically. Some don't, though. There are some out there that just don't make sense, and it's like, oh, wow, really, you can do that. Alright, so that is an invalid combination, and I'll show you some valid ones here in a second. So if you look at under Roderick's portrait, we have the filter, so all equipment, consumables, magic, gold, ingredients, and miscellaneous. You're doing that. Of note, if I move something in this panel and click off, I can go back into the crafting by hitting the button here next to the sort by, and it retains where I moved that item. It actually moves it in the inventory here. So if I hit sort by, wait again, you go into crafting and it resorts everything. Okay. So if you just want to manage your inventory, and let's say you just want to see all your potions here, you want to see all your grenades here, you can keep them there, and it's going to remember that, like so, until you sort it. Alright, so the last item in our inventory for Roderick is a Source Hunter backpack. And it's just a Source Hunter's backpack. If we right click on this, we now have an option to open. Backpack. This is a backpack. To place objects in there, move the cursor to an item in your inventory. Press button 3 and select hold. Notice that the object is held separately. Move the cursor to the backpack and press numpad enter to place the object. Place the object from your hand and into the backpack. Alright. So, I can close the backpack like so. I can double click on it to open it. I can right click on it to open it. I can move the backpack to an area of the screen and close it and reopen it, and it will open up at the area of the screen. Convenient. So, yeah. Alright, so that's Roderick's inventory. So if we take a look at Scarlet. Alright, Scarlet comes with Zandalar's trunks. Your grandmother always did advise you to buy underpants that breathe, after all. So I'm not sure why I have this item in my inventory. I don't know if this comes with the base game, or if this was something that I got from pre-order, if I pre-ordered it, or if it's just because it comes with the enhanced edition, or whatnot. I don't know why this is in the inventory to begin with. But that said, this is a special item as far as what it does in the game. There is no discernible effect. So let's take Scarlet here and look at her. So if we look at her inventory, I mean look at her character, you can see what she looks like as far as her items go. So let's go ahead and look at the paper doll up here. You see that we have a helm slot, then we have a necklace slot, then we have a chest slot. So she has the Source Hunter's armor. So it tells you the armor rating. It tells you anything that has any special item stats that it has. The AP cost would be if you were equipping that during combat. I think that's what it would be. So if it were for whatever reason you wanted to change armor, I don't know why you would do it, but if you did, that would be the AP cost associated with doing it during combat. And then it shows you the properties, shows you the level, shows you the requirement. So some armor requires dex, some strength, some intelligence. Durability of the armor is shown, and then it's fashioned of steel and leather. This set of equipment is both lightweight and highly protective. Neophyte source hunters rely on their gear to keep them safe from unexpected attacks while they learn the ins and outs of hunting source. You can see down there it says on the bottom common, so that is how unique it is. Well, or lack thereof, really. But basically that is the rarity of the item. If I recall, the rarities are common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and I think it has a divine. Or, yeah, a divine. I think there's a divine at like the 6th tier. And then you have unique. So next to the rarity, you have the symbol for the weight, and that tells you how much that weighs. So this weighs 1. And then you have the item value. So this would be how much you could sell the item for, but I don't know how they calculate this score, because what you can sell an item for is based on your bartering skill, your attitude, maybe even your reputation, because reputation goes into attitude, and we'll go into that soon, and maybe even charisma will have an impact on it. I'll try to verify that as we're playing. Alright, so that's the Source Hunter's chest. Next to that we have the glove slot, so we have traveling bracers. These brand new bracers are given to all Source Hunters upon their graduation from the Academy. Inlaid with the Order's most commonly used motif, they are also the most visible symbol of the Hunter's authority to civilians. Alright, then we have the offhand slot and the main hand slot. So right now in our main hand slot she has a bow. It's two-handed, that's why we can't use another item in the offhand slot. So her bow, an elven bow of antique design yet modern construction. The nock is a deep V-shaped groove in tribute to the famed archers of Verdistis. Not sure how you pronounce that. Anyway, Verdistis. Next to the bow we have our sarong slot, Source Hunter sarong. Careful embroidery sprawls across this rich-made garment. A loving hand has paid close attention to every stitch. Alright, and then we have 2 ring slots, we have a belt slot, and then we have the boot slot. Right now we have traveling boots. Standard issue boots from the Order of the Source Hunters are well made and without opulence. One of the Order's founding principles is we sacrifice. Okay, so if we take all of this off, we can get Scarlet down to her bare essentials. And you can see she is running around Riverlawn in some kind of, I guess, corkscrew wedges maybe, or high heels, can't really tell, because the feet kind of go through the environment. Anyway, so if we put on Zandalar's trunks, you see it doesn't change anything on her. But what Zandalar's trunks do, every now and then, if you have them equipped and you do something, you'll hear a voice start saying something. I don't know how many lines this thing has and when it triggers, but yeah, when you hear that strange voice, if you have Zandalar's trunks on, that is what is causing it. And I'll point it out when we first come across something where the voice is actually activated. Alright, the next item in her inventory that she has that Roderick didn't have is this, the Golden Grail. Um, if you look back at Xandalor's trunks, you'll see that at the bottom it says unique, so it is of the unique variety, and you see that it's got gold text. So the gold texts are unique items. I'm not sure why they didn't list the Golden Grail as a unique item, because it is. But this is like the Xandalor's trunks. I don't know how this was obtained, whether or not it just comes with the base game or not. But anyway, once an alchemist's simple bronze chalice, this grail was in just the right place at just the right time when its owner mastered the art of transmuting base metals. He charmed the grail with the power to transform basic clothing and armor from a simple cloth and steel into lavish gold, and he never ran out of cash again. Okay, so what can we do with the golden grail? Alright, so we can do a combine. So let's take a look at something here. If we go to Roderick's inventory, so let's take a look at what he has. He also has the Source Hunter's armor. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it to Scarlet. Equipment. To equip an item, open your inventory and drag the item into the matching equipment slot. Okay. He also has traveling bracers. He also has traveling boots. He also has a Source Hunter sarong. So since I picked the same type of base, they have the same type of base armor. So depending on what you started, you might have started with cloth armor, you might have started with heavy armor, and they would have different descriptions. So on his, you can see we have two knives. So we have a fighting knife, a one-handed weapon. It tells you how much damage it's doing, and to note, it says the dual wielding penalty. The dual wielding damage penalty is currently at 30%. So as we move our ability of dual wielding up, we will reduce that penalty. Alright, going back, fighting knife. The cutthroat switchblade, dark as the traditional garb of the Calavian assassins, it can be used for backstabbing, obviously. Calavian. Okay, maybe that's Calavian. Alright, notice that he is dual wielding, he has two knives. A note on knives, knives can be used in crafting to craft into daggers, and as I stated in the first video, the crafting weapons are probably going to be your best weapons in the game. As you progress in your ability to craft weapons through blacksmithing, you'll make better weapons as you level up blacksmithing, and as you level up at certain levels, once you get the level and associated with a higher blacksmithing skill, you'll actually create much better weapons that have stats on them. So you might start the game with just being able to create a dagger, but as you level up and as your blacksmithing level goes up, that dagger can be crafted again, but have stats on it. And that's what's going to be very important as far as what we do in the game. But a note on the knives is that they can be crafted into daggers, so don't sell knives in this game. They can also be used for other crafting recipes as well. Never sell a knife. You can always change it into something better that has more value to sell or is more usable to you. Alright, so that being said, I'm going to leave those on Roderick because that isn't something we need to worry about here. Going back to Scarlet. So if I want to go to Scarlet, I can go up to the top of the screen where it says character. It says Roderick level 1 by his portrait, and I can scroll left and right to get to the next character. Alright, so you see her inventory now. We have Roderick's inventory here. Put her bow back on. So if we look at these, they both have the same thing. So notice the value. So the Source Hunter's chest is 38. Bracers 14, boots 14, and the sarong is 2. Okay, so if I take this chalice and combine it with the Source Hunter's armor, click combine. Now we have a new recipe, improved leather armor. You can see the cross symbol has come up on the recipe, so that means that's a recipe that was added that you haven't looked at yet. Click on that. And it shows improved armor. So if we use the golden grail on any leather armor, we produce improved leather armor. So what did that do? So if we look at our armor, this one now has a value of 40 as opposed to the original that has 38. So that's how this alchemist made his gold. I don't know if this value changes over time. Not over time. I don't know if this value changes as you progress. Like, if I did that later in the game, would the value still be only two gold piece difference? Or not? I believe that it's only going to be 2. So for every item that you combine with the golden grail, you're only going to get 2 gold pieces out of it more. I think, and I think that'll be like that through the entire game, but I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, if you're looking at, like, free gold, you know, if you want to waste the time to combine it, you know, go ahead and do so. So we'll do that for now. Traveling bracers. Combine that. Come up with a new recipe for improved bracers. Do the same thing for the boots. We get an improved shoe. Do the same thing with the Source Hunter Sarong. And we have an improved garment. So we look here, and they all have a similar thing. You're using the grail, any garment, improved garment, grail, any leather armor, bracer, grail, any bracer, improved bracer, and shoe, grail, any shoe, and improved shoe. Alright, so let's go ahead and combine everything there, make sure we get them all. Alright, so we look at our values, they've all gone up by 2. Alright, so let's go ahead and re-equip. I can drag it or I can double click. So I can drag this to Roderick, or I can right click and send to Roderick. So, like so. We will go ahead and do that. Alright, Roderick is back and happy. So that is that. Scarlet also has orders and the Order of the Source Hunters of Brief History. So we don't need to read these again. I'm going to send these to Roderick. Books. To read books or notes, open your inventory and interact with the object. Okay? As you can see, the tooltips are often late. I don't know why they don't trigger when you're actually doing it, but that's just the way it is. I'm going to open this backpack. So backpacks in this game are used to unclutter your inventory. You're going to end up getting a lot of shit in your inventory, and you know, for people like me, I don't like seeing lots of shit in my inventory. I just want to see stuff there that I'm going to use. So I'm not going to use these again. I'm going to go ahead and put these in this backpack, like so, and close it off, and this backpack will basically be used for storing books of certain natures. To do that, we will go ahead and sort by weight, and you can see the weight in the backpack has gone up, so you can tell how much stuff you have in there based on the weight now. So the weight was 1, now it's 3. Alright, so going back to Scarlet. She has a fire arrow, so burn stuff, deals 8 to 12 fire damage, 100% chance to set burning status for 2 turns. 4 action cost to use it. The mobs do get a savings throw through it, so they may not burn, even though it says 100% chance to set the burn status. They may still save against it. Alright, requires a ranged weapon. Burning does fire damage over time. Can target terrain to create fire surfaces, burn ooze or oil, evaporate water, or melt ice. Can explode some clouds. Damage dealt depends on your weapon's damage rating. A fire arrow that is hot to the touch. You probably want to keep it safely away from oils and such like. So I can target the mob and hit the mob directly. I can target a surface. The initial damage won't affect the mob, so I won't get the 8 to 12 damage, but I will create a surface of fire around it, and it'll start burning if it doesn't save through for the burning, and if it tries to run through the surface, it'll I think it has to make a savings throw check for each time, but I'm not sure on that. So it still may take damage if it tries to run through the surface. So you can create the fire surface. As it said, there are things that it can do. If you have a surface of oil on the ground, you can use a fire arrow, and that will ignite the oil into a burning thing. If there's a poison cloud hovering around and you use fire against poison, the poison cloud will explode. There's many different combinations in this game for using the terrain and creating surfaces and using special arrows and scrolls and spells to take advantage of all of that. So we're going to, yeah, do that a lot. Alright, so she has a backpack. When I go ahead and open that up, I'm going to store her special arrows in the backpack because we're going to get a lot of them. And that said, anything stored in the backpack, you can still put it on your hotbar. Even if it's in the backpack, it'll stay on the hotbar. So let's go through the hotbar here now. So looking at Scarlet, she has regeneration, ricochet, and range power sense. So those are the three skills that we started out the game with, that we picked in character creation. It also loaded the Staff of Magus, so launch a magical missile from your staff that deals 1929 piercing damage. Launches a magic missile that inherits the power and damage type of the staff. The better the staff, the more damage this spell sows. Can target terrain. I'm not sure why this is loaded on a ranger, but it gets loaded on every character. The Staff of Magus, every character it gets loaded on. You're never going to use this on a ranger unless for whatever reason you put a staff in your hand. Anyway, so since I know I'm not going to use this, you can take this off the hotbar. So if you just click on it and drag it, you can remove it from the hotbar like so. Be careful though. Let's say you have this resurrect scroll and you take it and drop it. Okay, boom. Your resurrect scroll's on the ground and it's off the hotbar. Magic scrolls. You have found a magic scroll. With it, you can cast spells you haven't yet learned. Okay. Most items that get dropped on the ground, you can pick back up. There are some items I've come across that don't act that way, so be careful when you're dropping stuff on the ground. You may lose it. So, we have the fire arrows in the backpack and on the hotbar. If I take these here, boom, it drops it. They're gone. You know, it takes it right out of that backpack, so you pick that up. Alright, so here we have Flee. So Flee allows you to get out of combat. I'm not exactly 100% sure how it works because I've never used Flee. This is more for the honor mode, but I don't need it on the hotbar, and we'll go through some other things about that later. Then we have a minor healing potion. So I can drag it right to the backpack that I have open, like that if I really want to. So with 5 hotbars, you can, you know, figure out how you want to look at things. So let's say you just wanted to see scrolls on one hotbar. You can just have one hotbar full of scrolls, a hotbar full of potions, a hotbar of other things, or, you know, you're going to get multiple skills. Let's say you can use, you know, skill bar 1 and 2 for your skill sets, and, you know, use hotbar 5 for food, and various other things. So, you know, you can do all kinds of things as far as organization goes. So right now, since we don't have very many skills, I'm just going to go ahead and set up the minor healing potion here. I'm going to take my regeneration spell and put that over here for now. My ricochet is my damage, and this is a buff, so I'm going to kind of put that over there. So that's how I'm going to organize this hotbar. If I go in my inventory, I'm going to use the second hotbar for more skills later on. So I'm going to use hotbar 5 and 4. They will be used for magical arrows, and yes, you will get that many different types of magical arrows. So I'm going to go ahead and just load up a magical arrow right now on hotbar 5. And on hotbar 3, I'm going to go ahead and stick my resurrect scroll. And that's how I'm going to organize my hotbar for this character, for Roderick. We will look at him. Once again, he has a Staff of the Magus. We don't need. He has a Flee. Don't need. Smoke Grenade. Resurrect Scroll. Alright, so like regeneration, he has Cure Wounds. And both of these I'm going to keep here, so we have 2 knockdowns and damage. I'm going to put my scroll on 3. I'm going to use the grenades. Again, like arrows, you will get that many grenades, so I'm going to have 2 hot bars of grenades. Like so. So that's your hot bars. I'm going to go ahead and quick save. So on a PC, hitting F5 quick saves. If you wanted to reload, you would hit F8 and that would reload that save. I'm not sure if F8 reloads just the quick save or if it reloads your last save regardless of what type of save it was. We'll look at that later. Alright, so that is the inventory part. So let's take a look at the actual panel here. So the top panel shows you your attributes: strength, dex, int, constitution, speed, and perception. Then we have under that sight. Sight determines how far you can see and how quickly you can spot enemies. I believe sight is associated with the blacked out ability here. Not ability, but the blackout area. So I think if our sight improves, we would see more of the blacked out parts sooner than later. But I'm not 100% sure that is correct. But I think that's what sight does. Hearing determines the range at which enemies appear around you on the minimap. And you can see that I have +5 on Roderick from perception. So it's just perception at 5 is going into, if we look at Scarlet. So he has 13. If you look at Scarlet, she has 13. And I'm not sure why, when she has more perception at 8, she has the same hearing as Roderick. And that seems like a bug. I have no explanation for that. There's no reason why her hearing shouldn't be higher than his hearing. Not that it matters, because I honestly can't tell you how to determine this. So it tells you about the range that you can see them on the map. Maybe, you know, you'll see them on the map sooner. I mean, it tells you that, but I don't know if I've ever noticed that while I'm actually playing the game. And I don't know if it actually has anything to do with when you hear the actual NPCs talking. So sometimes you'll hear conversations that happen off the screen, way off the screen, like before you even get near the damn NPCs, they're talking from screens away, and that might be associated with this hearing stat. Which, if that's the case, it's annoying as fuck to hear conversations that you're not even involved in. Like, you're hearing NPCs talk, and you're nowhere near the fucking NPC. You haven't even met the NPC, and they're just babbling on and on. And a lot of times, you have multiple NPCs talking over each other. It's just a terrible design on how they did their ambient conversations in this game. It's really a bad design. But anyway, I don't know why the hearing is not more. There's no way that she should have 13 if her perception is 3 higher than his. It should be 16 for sure. And I just don't see it. I mean, to me, that's a bug. Anyway, movement. Movement is the distance you can run with 1 action point. So it's saying that we're getting 0.5 movement from our speed. So it looks like it's 0.1 per point spent in speed. We can't verify that. But as you see with the hearing, we may not have been able to verify that even if we did spend 1. Next is initiative. Initiative affects your position when the turn order of combat is calculated. So we'll see that more once we start our first combat. But we are getting initiative from our speed and perception. So it says +5. I'm not sure how it's calculating it since we have 5 in speed and 5 in perception. But anyway, we're getting 1 from gear, so if we look back at our chest, we are getting 1 initiative from the chest. Below that, we have our experience. Your experience tells you how much you learned from your quest, and the experience needed to gain a level. So we start out 0, 2,000, we gain our level. Next panel is the damage panel. The damage you inflict when successfully hitting an enemy or item. So let's see, we have action points cost 6. I think that means that it cost me 6 action points to dual wield. To have one dual wield attack, I have to spend 6 action points, and then I will get 8 to 13 damage from weapons. I don't know how it's going to change that later, because it says offhand when it says weapon. I guess it means weapon is just your primary, and then your offhand weapon is the offhand weapon. Okay. Sorry, I didn't notice it wasn't plural. Alright, and it shows you that we have a penalty of a negative 30 because we were dual wielding. If we look at here, Scarlet, so she doesn't have a penalty. She is not dual wielding. She gets plus 20% from her bow. Alright, next one is the armor rating. How much non-magical damage your armor absorbs when you are hit. So we were getting a plus 34 from our gear. That would be our 20 armor rating. 27 from there, and 7 more for 34. That's your armor rating. You have 18% physical damage reduction versus enemies of your own level. So let's take a look at Roderick. Same thing. Notice that it is the non-magical damage. Your magical damage mitigation comes down here. Fire resistance mitigates incoming fire damage. Water resistance mitigates incoming water damage. Earth resistance mitigates incoming earth damage. Air resistance mitigates incoming air damage. Tenebrium resistance mitigates incoming tenebrium damage. We'll go over tenebrium much later in the game. It's something that happens much later. And then we have poison. So poison resistance mitigates incoming poison damage. So that's how you mitigate your magical damage. Under that we have block, your chance of blocking melee and range skills. We have a talent, I believe, that has block on it. I'm not sure if it has block or not now I'm looking. Let's see what it was called. Was it sidestep? That's evade. I don't know if this sidestep shows up as blocking. I don't know if evade shows up as blocking, but I think blocking, the only way you can get blocking is by equipping a shield. I don't know if any of these talents will show up as a blocking percent. But yeah, blocking comes from your shields. Critical chance, your chance of striking a critical hit. So if the current modifier is 200%. Offensive rating. Offense determines your chance of hitting an enemy with your currently equipped weapon. So it's noting that dual wielding, lowest offensive rating chosen. So we have a base offensive rating of 40. We're getting 42 from Dex because we were using Dex-based weapons, and then we're getting plus 6 from Lucky Charm. So if we go back into our abilities, note that we did take Lucky Charm to start at a base of 2. That's why we have plus 6. Plus 3 for each point. If we look at Scarlet's rating. Oh, this is 20, but yeah, okay, we'll just go like that. You know, she doesn't have a penalty for dual wielding, and she doesn't have any bonus for a Lucky Charm because she doesn't have Lucky Charm. So above that we have, oh yeah, your critical chance. So she's getting an additional chance. She's actually getting 3% chance, right? He's getting 0. He gets 0%. She's getting a 3% critical chance because she has perception. So 1% per perception point past 5. Alright. So we went over the offensive rating. Defensive rating. Defense determines your ability to evade non-magical attacks. We have a base of 4. And we're getting plus 2 from our dexterity for Scarlet, and he has a base of 4 and gets plus 4 from dexterity. So his dexterity is 7, hers is 6, and that's increasing the defensive rating by double. Okay. Not double, not the defensive rating, the bonus from dex is doubled. So for 1 point we got plus 2 base on the defense rating. Now, how the defensive rating is calculated as far as the difference between armor rating and defense rating. I don't know what that is. Like, you know, how it goes from. It's just flat out evade. Okay. So it's just the ability to evade the attack altogether, and then once it hits, then the armor rating mitigates the damage. So maybe when we look at this talent again, this sidestep, maybe you'll see the 10% show up in the defensive rating part. Alright, so looking here at Vitality, how much damage you can take before you die. We're getting plus 52 Vitality from our Constitution. Next is action points. Determines how many action points you can perform in one turn. So we have currently a maximum of 12 action points. The number of action points you can have in total. You can save up unused action points from previous turns, but never more than this number. Alright, so it starts as a base of 5, and we are getting, a base of 7, and we're getting plus 5 of that from Constitution. Our start action points are 8, the number of action points with which you start combat. So our base is 2, and then we were getting plus 6 from speed and perception for our starting action points. And then we have our turn action points at 6, the number of action points you gain in subsequent turns. So for every turn we're going to get 6. Our base is 4. We're getting 2 from speed. So we currently have 6 action points, and that's on Scarlet. And Roderick also has 6 action points. Next and last on this menu right now is Reputation. Reputation gives you a bonus to how people react to you. Are you famous, infamous, or nobody? Gain reputation by demonstrating your helpfulness, but you can also lose reputation. So, reputation is an enigmatic type of stat. It absolutely affects the attitude other NPCs have against you, and I think it's I want to say that I think you get 5 attitude per reputation point that you have versus NPCs. So if your attitude is 0 against an NPC as base, 1 reputation will give you a 5 attitude on that NPC, and the attitude again is more about bartering and sell value and buy value than anything else. However, I think there are secret components to this. So certain NPCs will have different dialogue lines in the game depending on your reputation, whether it's a negative or positive. So if you want to see the most positive reputation dialogue lines or interactions with characters, you want a higher reputation. And this reputation goes up by values of 1 generally, so I think like the max reputation might be around 15. So during exploring, you'll come across certain things you do that will either add reputation or take reputation away from you. So yeah, I'm going to play this as a high reputation playthrough. So I'm going to try to do everything I can to give me rep and just see what it does, or see if I can tell what it does for sure, or to see, you know, maybe I might miss something that I don't want to miss. But I'm going to go ahead and put my reputation above any other gain, even if it's beneficial for me to have the other gain. Alright, so let's take a look. We went over the equipment panel, the ability panel, the talent panel. The last is the traits. So we're going to come across this relatively soon in the game, but we'll click on it now. Traits. Traits are assigned to your character after voicing opinions. If your character is consistent in their opinions, their trait points can result in a stat or ability point bonus. Over time, your traits can change. Okay, so we will definitely go into that in more detail later on. Alright, so the last UI component we have is the skill menu. So it's associated with the K button. If I click on that, we get the skills. Skill screen. This is the skill screen. If you want to learn more skills, you will need to find or buy skill books. Skills belong to various categories or skill schools. To be able to learn skills from other schools, you need to invest ability points in them. So again, this is slightly off because it's not just finding and buying. You can actually craft skill books too. Alright, so this is the skill menu. You can see up on the top, you can scroll through your characters here, like so. So it shows you that you have Man-at-Arms at 1 for Roderick. So all the ones below it are locked. So since he has no abilities points in these are all locked. So it's not locking it based on ability. It's locking it based on the fact that I don't have a skill in that. Because I do have Scoundrel 1 and it's not letting me look at it. So that's definitely just I don't have any skills in these locked abilities yet. And then we have the special category. So this is where that flea came from that we saw earlier on the hotbar here. I don't know why you would ever need to put any of these on the hotbar other than if you are a user that just has trouble using mouse and you need to have or you have trouble using a keyboard and hotkey, so you have to have it as a mouse click. All of these are useless to have on the hotbar for any other reason, as far as I know. But let's say you wanted to do that. If you wanted to put sneak mode here, you can drag it there and just click on it, as opposed to, you know, using it over here or using the hotkey. Again, quite useless. But, you know, if I want to start rearranging things, so let's say I just want to... Alright, now I have no skills on my hotbar, alright? If you go through the hotbar, there's no skills. Alright, so now I just start dragging skills back down. You know, if I want to put that one there, if I want to put this one here. A note, so let's say I want to put Crushing Fist on 5. Alright, well, I can go back to 1, put Crushing Fist on 1. It'll be on 1 and 5. So, and there are times you want to do something like that, because it's just more convenient for you to do something like that. If you want to just replace the skill, you just overwrite it like that. So let's put them all back on there. And that is the skills and spells UI. And that concludes our second video on the UI components of the game. So, next video we will start moving around in a more useful manner. Alright, later guys.